To solve this data sufficiency question, we'll go ahead and consider each statement separately first and then together if needed. Before we dive into the statements, let's go ahead and set up a Venn diagram since we have overlapping sets that we're told about in our question. So setting up a Venn diagram, we'll go ahead and draw two circles. They're not going to be the best looking circles as they're drawn by hand, but we get the idea. We could label this first circle with soup and the second one with salad, which represent the people that had soup for lunch, the people that had salad for lunch, and the middle portion would be the people that had both. So let's go ahead and give variable names to these because we're not explicitly given the numbers for these people yet. So let's call the people that only had soup P. Let's call the people that had both B. And let's call the people that only had salad D. Now, based off of these variables, we're actually given that there are a total of 168 people eating in the cafeteria that had at least one of the two foods. This means that we're given P plus B plus D is equal to 168. We need to determine if we have enough information to find the value of people that had only soup. So we're essentially looking for whether we can find, or we have enough information to find the value of P. So when we go through our statements, we're looking for if we have enough information to determine the value of P. We don't actually need to determine that value. We just need to be able to determine that value. So let's go ahead and let's scroll down and let's consider statement 1. So I'm only scrolling down for a little bit of space. Since 5/8 of the people had both soup and salad, we know that we have B is equal to 5/8 times 168, all of the people, 168. And if we worked this out to simplify, we would end up with B is 105. Now, even though we know the value of B, we have no other information to find D. And if we can't find D, we wouldn't be able to find P. So this statement alone is actually not sufficient. Just knowing the middle portion is actually not enough information to be able to find P. If we knew D, though, we would be able to find P because we do know the total amount of people using this equation. So we always want to keep that in mind as we work through. So this statement alone is not sufficient, and we could scroll up and eliminate answer choice A and D since statement 1 alone is not sufficient. Now let's go ahead and let's move on to statement 2. So scrolling down to give us a little bit more space, we'll still make our statement 2 visible. Statement 2 tells us that 2/3 of the people had salad. So this means that we have D plus B should equal 2/3 times 168. Simplifying this number, we end up with 112 people. And so if we consider the given equation, the one that we used our variables to determine, we have P plus B plus D is equal to 168. Now we know what, scrolling down a little bit, we know what D plus B is, which is the same as B plus D, so we can actually replace this with 112, and that equals 168. This is enough information to be able to solve for P. We don't need to finish that out and find the numerical value, but we could, and that's enough to say that this statement alone is sufficient. So we can scroll back up and eliminate answer choice C and E, and the correct answer choice is choice B. Statement 2 alone is sufficient, but statement 1 alone is not sufficient.